Hello, how are you? I'm Rosana Jatubá, and just like you, I have been following Festival Inova Klabin em Casa, a festival that brings hundreds of specialists together to talk about purposeful innovation. We are now going to talk to the director of corporate engineering or WEX Lab of one of the largest technology companies in Brazil, TOTUS. For them, creativity is the best tool to deal with business requirements. Welcome, Fabio Girardi. How are you, Fabio?
Hello, Rosanna. Good morning. How you doing? Thank you so much for the invitation. Thanks to Klabin for the invite. I'm very happy to be able to be here with you. I am not wearing a mask because I am at my house at this moment, and I believe that we can have a very nice chat.
For sure. Fabio, I would like to begin by asking you, what exactly is UX Lab, UX design?
Well, UX means user experience, right? At TOTUS, we have a lab of user experience, and we work with people and professionals that have a specific look towards design and how we can specifically enable and obtain solutions that are based on this insight with our customers.
What we see over time is that design was always tied to this idea of a product that is judged by appearance, an appealing product. But we know that the concept is now totally different. It's like Steve Jobs says, it's not about what you see or what you feel, it's how it works. Can you walk us through the pathway that brought us to this moment, this new concept of design?
Nice. That's actually a good point, Rosanna. Essentially, when we think about design, specifically talking about software, we think about user interface and we think about the screen and the appearance of that solution. But in our opinion, the design is actually the conception of a product and how this product is actually going to solve a pain or a problem of the user. But to get into a little bit of the design of how we got to that point, I would like to go back in time a little bit and to talk about TOTUS timeline and how we started with that design vision. So a few years ago, specifically as of 2014, we wrote down a manifesto. That was an internal manifesto, and we said that people should be at the center of our creations. And with that, we understood that an approach based on the agile model would really be putting us in a position of, centering the discussion around people. And that's what we mean by design as well. If we think about a solution that is not people-centric, we are not doing anything really. So as of 2014, we started to study the agile model and how this could work. TOTUS is actually a large company. It's the largest software producer in Latin America. And we have development teams. We have a reasonable amount of complexity. So we adopted an approach where we started to transform our teams into the agile model through time. But essentially, we started working with that in 2017. And here's why. TOTUS actually changed its headquarters. We created a new headquarters, which is called Seneca, in the north side of São Paulo, a very large facility. And the architectural design was conceived based on the agile model. In Seneca, we don't have walls, we don't have rooms. We have major spaces where people are exposed to one another, and they are working in their own management structure. So the director, unlike the previous model, the director doesn't have his own room. He's right there with the team, just like managers and coordinators. So this facility, Seneca, has enabled us to take this agile methodology to our teams. And from that, we actually deconstructed our hierarchical model. When it comes to the agile model, of course, we start to look at our products in a better way. We start reinventing our activities, and with that we get more of a gain, we get more innovation. And that's how we were able to enable that innovation for the last 2 years. We have a much better capability of looking at design now. Just to give you an idea, what I think has enabled us even more, just in the last year alone, Without having a substantial increase in our staff, without any increase in our staff really, we were able to increase our innovation and production capabilities in 50%. So just by the management model being changed, we were able to fast track our capability to innovate. Of course, that was built through time. Like I said, we started looking at this back in 2014. We started to change our culture and our space as of 2017. And in 2019, 20, and now 21, we are reaping the benefits of it. More specifically, talking about design and how we have been enabling all of this innovation through X Lab, we are disseminating the design culture. So we are understanding the problem, we are understanding that there is a pain here, and we are working with a multidisciplinary team, with a very diverse team, and we are trying to provide a remedy or a solution for that pain. So that's the objective behind our lab.
It's interesting to hear you talk about understanding the pain, understanding the problem, which is something we don't see in startups, because in this innovation environment, the focus is much more the solution than the problem. I would like to mention the case of NASA, when they had difficulties because astronauts went out to space and they did not have a pen to write their reports, their observations. And nobody realized how important it was to think about the problem in order to find a solution. This is what you do.
That is exactly right. And again, the differential is always the experience. So if we are in a complex world, in a very competitive world, what differentiates is the experience. But in order to differentiate yourself and stand out via UX or user experience, we have to understand the problem quite well. If we don't understand the problem, how can we provide a solution if we don't know what the problem is? And to understand the problem, we have to bring the people into the conversation. So that's the approach that we are undertaking in our UX lab and within our whole design structure. So we have a laboratory, right? We have an excellence center in the company, but we also have designers in the different product lines. We have a portfolio of over 300 products and over 100 production lines that are different amongst each other, and we have a whole design approach for these products to take this outlook into consideration, and especially to listen. We have to listen more and more. We have to really understand what is the pain points. We have to think about solutions for this pain, and we come up with what we call adaptive solutions. A lot of times we come from this conceptual model, right? So when we think about a software, we have some solutions that in 2020 we decided to work not only for software, but we are working with software and trying to bring this into a concrete aspect. So let's talk about a screen, for example. When we think about a prototype, we don't design the screen itself in the software. We may draw it on paper and come up with the navigation on paper, and we cut out this cardboard and say that this is a smartphone, and we try to make it happen in the streets, is to feel how people are seeing that solution. And from the people's feedback, you can get some insights. And with that, you can rework your solution until you get to a viable prototype. And then in this case, we validate that once again with a set of people, and we take that into a production line to really build the software based on that. So that's how we conceive it, that's how we test it, and essentially that's how we produce it. With this process, in the first production round, in the first delivery, we can deliver something that is really going to solve that pain, that is going to solve the problem. And by solving that pain, you are going to have a gain in cost, and you're going to gain in quality as well.
So far beyond the visual aspect, you use design as a business strategy. And my question is, at this time, how do you see these big companies that tend to have very rigid structures? Is there a movement? Are they more receptive to design?
I believe so, Rosana. I believe so. There is such a movement, there is such a process going on. For example, all of us in 2020, we were affected by the pandemic. So, considering our people, let's say that our people are implementing a software in the client structure. Overnight, from March 18 to March 19, 2020, we stopped going to the clients. We had an exceptional design project that we started with, and with that fact, we began to try to make deliveries remotely. So our design considered precisely that, and in 2 weeks, we created this whole new approach of how we could implement to the customer. So all the customers that were affected by it, we worked together with them to decide on the delivery. And our delivery has been happening in this way to this day. And that has brought us some gain in productivity, some gain in our image. So to your question, I think it is a path. You know, obviously we are creating this path as of 2014. So we've been doing this for 6 years. We had a design approach that was prior to that. Actually, the UX Lab was created in 2012 in our company, but that was more about the software in and of itself. You know, as of 2014, we connected that to the agile methodology and we started assembling it. So we expanded the process in this way. I believe, you know, the companies, whether they are traditional or conservative or not, they have to go through that. They are going through it right now. All of the companies want to better address the market, and all of the companies want to better understand their customers. Otherwise, they are going to fall down. It's like the startups. They have a mortality rate. The ones that don't understand the customers are not going to grow. And major companies are going through the same process. So this is really a natural movement from a managerial standpoint and from the standpoint of people and innovation. You know, innovation is very much related to the capacity of people and the diversity of people that are in this conversation. So the more diverse we are able to, the more diverse a conversation we are able to have, the more innovative we can be, because we include different perspectives and different outlooks to the same problem. And when you combine all of those outlooks and all of those perspectives, we are able to create a product that is much, much better.
And this is a principle that is applicable to the whole corporate chain, because diversity is a major driving force behind innovation, isn't it?
I have no question about that. There are some movements that are underway inside TOTUS that are very consistent when it comes to innovation, that are very consistent when it comes to inclusion and innovation, and all of that is connected, really. I've been working in the software industry for 32 years. It's very different from 30 years ago or 20 years ago. There's no point in me talking about a solution if I don't feel that pain. People are the ones who feel the pain, and they are the ones that are diverse, that bring this wealth of diversity. That's why this is so important. There is no point on listening or looking at something if we don't bring it to the table. If we are just, you know, limited to our little square, our little bubble, or our little hierarchical model, so to speak. I'm not saying that we should go full anarchy. I mean, there is management, but our model is much more horizontal than it was before. And in this horizontal model, we are able to include this diversity, we are able to include this listening process and think about better solutions.
You said something interesting about startups that are not successful, maybe because they are not problem-centered. Their only focus is the solution. And I have read that 70% of startups go out of business in less than 20 months. Let us have a look at the opposite side. I would like you to give us examples of companies that are successful exactly because they are based on UX design.
Well, TOTUS is one of them. TOTUS has been growing consistently because of that. We have been enabling more and more design in our structure. So I can tell you with absolute confidence that this was a great step that we took. We have some operational numbers that show that our product quality has improved, that our ability to innovate has improved. Like I say, we didn't increase our staff, and we increased our capacity by 50%. So our indicators point to that direction. But I think the most iconic example is Apple itself. Just like we mentioned Steve Jobs at the beginning. Apple is an icon of innovation. This is a company that most people love. They are completely in love with the product. And they are much closer to what the people's needs are. Back in the day, Steve Jobs used to say that he wanted the screen of the smartphone to be a touch screen for people to just touch and navigate. The engineers said that was completely crazy. There was no way of doing that in a 5 or 12 or 7 or 12-inch screen. And of course, that wasn't crazy. It was just a matter of getting the right design in place, and it worked out down the road. But of course, we have some other companies out there. There's actually a recent study that was conducted back in 2019 and early 20. They analyzed thousands of companies in dozens of countries asking about design, and only 5% of the companies have design as a strategy. The other 40% of these 2,200 companies, I think, they are still focused on visual interface, whether it's a screen or a package or a clothing design or something like that. So you see, there is a very long road for us to take. We gotta make clear how important design is. So if you look at each and every one of us, we expect a solution that is made for us. Each and every one of us, that's the beauty of smartphones. Each of us have a different smartphone because I have a set of apps that is, of course, different from your apps, and that makes each smartphone unique. So what I'm saying is that every person wants to see a solution for their own, for themselves. And we have to create a solution for people individually. That's what we are looking for. More and more, we are trying to achieve something that is close to us, that hits home. We are trying to make an impact on people's lives, especially in the current context, especially in the world these days. We want to focus on the empathy with other people, with nature, with companies, and people's health overall. So I think this is really important. And design has a more heuristic look. And I think that, it's a little more abstract, but it has that power. It has that capability.
We are seeing a boom of UX design, but it seems to me this content is still limited to certain niches. What could you say to our listeners, to the audience, to those who are interested and want to learn more? Tips, mechanisms, tools, how can they learn more?
Obviously, we have our formal training, so to speak. We have contests in different institutions and, training processes that educate these folks. I'll take my team, for example. I was talking about diversity, and my team is really diverse. It's not only comprised by designers that are designers by trade. Of course, we have industrial designers. We have people that have a fashion background in our teams. I've worked with dentists. Yes, there are some odontologists in our team, so it's a very diverse scope. All it takes is for people to be dedicated and want to work with that topic, but of course there are some specific training processes that are focused on design. We have different approaches. For example, design thinking is an approach that we use quite a bit. Design thinking works with a different string of materials, whether it's free of charge or whether it's paid materials. And if you're looking for free training, there's a lot of content on the internet. I mean, it's such a wealth of content. Of course, we have a lot of information, and that is a problem in itself. There's too much information, but if you apply the right filters, you're able to do a lot. Our UX Lab has a channel that is called Medium. This is a platform where we write some papers, and so there's a channel of UX Lab that we update every week. We are always putting something out there, publishing articles, and what is more important, in my opinion, is precisely thought itself. So in other words, people have to be open enough.
digamos assim, desprovidida
They have to
das
be
suas
detached
amarras, né?
from
A partir do
their
momento que a
blocks,
gente
you know?
vai
So when
escutar,
you
a
listen,
gente tem que deixar de
you really
lado,
have to
digamos
do
assim,
away
os nossos
with your
conceitos, os
previous
nossos
concepts or
preconceitos,
your
exatamente para
prejudice.
vestir pouco o
And you
calçado
have
do
to
outro,
put
ou a roupa
yourself
do outro,
in the
e a
other
gente
person's
entender
shoes. And
efetivamente como
that's how
aquela
you
dor está
understand
doendo naquela
how
pessoa
that
para a
pain
gente
point
pensar
is
numa
really hitting.
solução.
And that's how
Então,
you come
eu
up with
acho
a
que
solution.
enquanto pessoa,
So I think
a
that
gente
us
deveria,
as people,
se
if
quer
we
trabalhar
want
nesse
to work
sentido,
in this
ou na
industry
verdade
or
em qualquer
any
área, né,
industry
é
for that matter,
desprover
we really
exatamente
have to
dos nossos
detach ourselves
conceitos
from our
para poder
concepts and our
enxergar
prejudice
pouco
so we can
a
see
amplitude
the
de
broad
questões que a gente tem, de
wealth
como a gente
of
pode
options
tratar
and
no
how
bom
we can
termo
deal
cada
with
uma.
things.
Fabio Girardi, thank you so much for being our guest today. Have a nice day. Until next time.
Muito obrigado,
Thank you very
Rosana.
much,
Obrigado aí a
Rosanna.
Klabin
Thank
pelo
you very much,
convite.
Klabin,
Fico
for the
muito
invitation.
agradecido,
I'm
muito
very
satisfeito. Em
grateful
nome
and
da
very
TOTOS,
happy on
agradeço
behalf of
muito e
TOTOS.
sucesso a
I
todos
say
nós.
thank you very
Todos nós
much, and I
cuidem.
wish you much
Boa saúde a
success.
todos. Muito obrigado.
Stay healthy.
Muito bem. E você que
And
está
for you
assistindo ao
who are
Festival
watching
Inova
our
Club em
festival
casa,
Inova Club
continue
em
com a
Casa,
gente,
I hope you remain with
conectados por
us, in
ideias
touch with
inovadoras e com
innovative but
propósito. Daqui a
purposeful
pouco a gente
ideas.
se encontra de
I will
novo.
see
Até
you
já.
again soon.